Okay, man. Oh, at the end, if you want people to find you on Instagram or follow you or connect with you, put your Facebook or
All right.
IG out there if you want. You don't have to, but you can.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good on that.
Okay. Go ahead and identify however you want. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, I'm an addict. My problem's Jeff. Um, so I guess I'll start my story about where I come from. So I come from addicts, misinformed people, my misinformed people. My mom and dad were both drug dealers. All my mom's brothers were drug dealers. Um, a couple of my dad's brothers and sisters were into drugs. So the whole family was really hard into drugs and alcohol. My dad was he was a blackout drunk, and I followed in his steps, using hard drugs and alcohol. And you know, uh, growing up, I was here in Ogden, but I've spent time in California and Arizona and Idaho. Throughout my juvenile days and whatnot, and I've done a lot of time. Did 18 months as a juvenile. Um, that was a straight shot. I've been to 9 treatments throughout my whole life. So this last time was my last one. That was my 9th one, and that was when I was in the feds doing 11.5-year sentence. Um, I got into the program without getting any time cut or nothing, and just wanted to get some things in order. I stayed clean through the whole sentence. You know what I mean? And I'd had prior recoveries. Um, the longest I ever had prior to this one I have now was 8 years, and now I'm coming up on 12 years on the 18th of May. And most of that time, this time clean, I spent in the feds. I did 9 years of 11.5. Got out. Like I said, I grew up in an addict, alcoholic family. You know what I mean? And so I found out through all that stuff that uh, I had a lot of mental health issues in my family. I found out that I had a lot of like attempted suicides. My mom and my dad tried killing himself. The last time he relapsed, they found a letter in his car saying that he was going to kill himself, and he ended up ODing and dying. Like, he had almost 8 years clean. And that was prior to me getting out of prison last time. I had 3 months left when that happened, when he passed away. And I don't know, talk about like some can die so the others can live. You know what I mean? It really taught me a lesson, because I really looked up to my dad in his recovery. Like, he was out there helping people. He turned his life around. He was really God-fearing man, and the disease ended up taking him out. And within a day of relapse, and he was dead. Um, So I was in a treatment center at the time. His sponsor was running the treatment center in 12th Street, and I happened to talk to him about getting in there, and he shot me right in there. And I was trying to get clean and sober again. I was sick and tired of my life, the way I was living. I was a meth addict, uh, anything you had addict. I wasn't really too much into heroin and pills, but meth, alcohol, cocaine, acid, mushrooms, all that stuff was what I really liked. I did a lot of that stuff. And so when I went to treatment that time my dad was there, I really found a foundation with God, and God was like really talking to me, a higher power. And there was all these coincidences going on that were like super powerful, and it was just showing me that he was there for me. And that was a real big deal for me in my recovery. And I ended up staying clean, got out, stayed clean for 8 years, almost 8 years that last time, and didn't do a lot of the work, just like living on the rock star lifestyle stuff. You know what I mean? Just not using. Did a real good step one. Wasn't really putting a lot of trust in God, which I should have, because that's for me, that's the meat and gravy of the whole program. That's the full measure of the program, the substance of it for me. And so I ended up going on a relapse, got caught, went to the feds, all that stuff. And And this time down, man, I'd hurt, like I went out with almost 8 years clean. And when I did that, I think a lot of it was I wasn't centered in who I was and all that stuff when I relapsed. I was wanting all the things everybody else has, but wasn't willing to work for it, you know, so I wasn't content. And like I said, I was still hurting people's feelings a lot, talking a lot of mad stuff to them, and I still had that prison mentality. You know, I've got almost 20 years in by the time I was 43, so um, I had a lot of mentality left and was running on that stuff, trying to get my way. And I ended up getting a lot more anxiety than towards the end of that when I relapsed that last time. And I went and got on meds, and the meds made me suicidal, and ended up trying to take my life at a NA convention. And yeah, that was a eye opener. So I used that against me. You know what I mean? After that, I didn't relapse. I just really couldn't quite figure out where I fit in. You know what I mean? Like I felt like everybody was talking about me when I went to meetings, and there's a guy that tried killing himself at the meeting. You know what I mean? I just felt really lost at that time. You know what I mean? So I started hanging around with my mom, who was using. Then I found out I had a gambling addiction. Went out and blew all the money I was supposed to use on my bills, and ended up selling drugs to make up for that money. You know what I mean? And I did a couple robberies that didn't pan out the way I wanted. So I did what I did best, and I was selling drugs, and ended up catching a Fed beef, and got a 10 to life there. And when I went down this time, this is my jumping off point. I was done. You know, I had all these regrets, remorse, and all this stuff that it was so prevalent in my life at the time that it was just eating me alive. It made me super, super bitter. You know, like I try to explain it to people, but it was just a bitterness that I've never seen or experienced from anybody that I've ever met. Like at least for me, like people would be talking, and in my mind, I'd be like, "You're full of shit." You know what I mean? You're just trying to blow my head up and trying to make yourself look good. And so it was bad, you know. And that turned into some paranoia. You know, I started getting social anxiety from it, and didn't really hang around people too much, you know. But I found that I knew it worked, you know what I mean, and that was the program, you know, and being connected with God and stuff like that. So I was getting down and really trying to connect with Him as much as I could, and for a long time, it didn't seem like anything was coming. You know, I wasn't. Most of the recoveries I had, it was easy for me to get down on my knees and pray to God and see some things going on. You know what I mean? But this time, it just seemed like it wasn't going that way. You know, and so I just held on to a little seed. It wasn't even hope. It was just a hope to have hope, you know, again. And I held on to that. And throughout that whole time, I'd really just focused on what I wanted to be, you know, and I didn't have a lot of meetings to go to. There wasn't a lot in the feds where I was at. But I really just like opened up my Bible, opened up my big book, opened up my basic text, you know, whatever I could get my hands on that was going to feed my mind and direct me in the right way. And I did that every day. And I read my daily meditations, and I prayed, and I acted retarded, you know what I mean? Got out and acted the fool, you know what I mean? At the same time, and I had to go through a lot of that pain again still, you know, like all that mentality was drawing me into having the keys to the car and all this just crap stuff, you know what I mean? The stuff that was like a big contradiction to me, you know. I was living a walking contradiction. Like I wanted God in recovery, but I was doing everything opposite of that, you know. I started to see that stuff, and I really just got I don't know, after a while I started to introvert again, you know, and I started seeing myself and all these people that were around me, because it's just like being in a house of me, you know what I mean? I'd watch everybody doing the same things I did, talking the same shit I talked, and And I don't know, it's a different kind of perspective, you know, and I tried to center myself in that, and but God was there, you know, working with me, and I started to see some coincidences again in my life, and I went into I ended up going into the shoe for fighting, and and I beat up some sex offenders, and got put into the shoe for that, and then they wouldn't let anybody go into my cell with me for like 2 months, and because most of the people in the shoe were sex offenders and whatnot, and going from there, you know, I met this. I ended up getting put in a cell with a Mexican immigrant that had he was hooked up with a cartel and stuff, but he was a really godly man. You know what I mean? And he like would get down on his knees and pray and prostrate himself when he prayed. He wrote psalms and lamentations and stuff like that to God of his own life. You know what I mean? And it was just a super beautiful thing. It really drew me to God in a lot of ways. I was doing a lot of stuff to draw myself to him, but seeing that kind of passion and that relationship that he had with him was something that drew me towards that. You know, being especially me and him being in a cell together doing that. And anyway, I went through my time, and I grew. You know, I started to grow in God, the relationship with God. Um, I had mishaps here and there, you know, the prison lifestyle and whatnot, and then and I was really focusing on getting home, and I wanted to get home and be somebody different, and I had to start getting this mentality that it is what it is type stuff, you know what I mean? That I had to let it go and just be where I'm at and let God work in the middle of my life. Let recovery have its portion and part of it, you know what I mean? Where I could make better decisions and open my eyes to being of service to somebody, you know? And so from there, I tried opening meetings and stuff like that. And towards the end, like I said, I got into treatment again for my last time. And when I got through that, I dealt with some grief stuff, some trauma stuff that gone on in my life, because I'm a victim of sexual abuse and stuff like that also. And I'd gotten through that. I really did a lot of work and really started to understand who I was and like who I was, and then that grew into a love, you know, for myself, what I'm about, what I do in my life every day. And so when I got out, I had to readjust because I was in a whole different setting for 9 years almost, you know, and so I got out and I just did the same thing. I just started applying that stuff that I learned in there, like keeping God in the middle of it. If it's super bad, you know, just try to be more positive so I ain't throwing gas on the fire and, you know, making things work for me and everybody else because of the drama that's going on or the things that are going on in my life. I don't have to throw flames on it and make mountains out of mouse shit. You know what I mean? And I found that there's an old saying: if I have faith in one hand and hope in another, I won't pick up a drink or a drug. You know what I mean? And I remember that, and I know that that's a beautiful thing because putting God in the middle of that stuff, right? It gives me. Not only does it give me that faith that I can walk through anything, but it gives me the hope that I could become anything that I want. So when I got out, I just started driving cement trucks. You know, I started off there, and I've been doing that for a while, making good money doing that, applying myself to recovery in my area. You know what I mean? The best that I can. I'm open to people. I ran a recovery house for a couple years, you know, and I've been out 4 now almost, and going on 4. And the blessings keep coming. You know what I mean? Like I remember my sponsor used to tell me, like, it took me a long time to get this fucked up. You know what I mean? You're not gonna be better overnight. You know what I mean? He says, but the more that we apply a light onto the dark things, and the more that we turn that stuff over to God and other people, the more that we'll grow. You know. And so since I've been out, man, I've seen my life. I could have never pictured it better. You know what I mean? I had all these ideas when I was sitting in a cell what life was going to look like. And there's a little bit more glamour to that, but the glamour is not what has substance. You know what I mean? It's the connection with people. It's the love and the friendships and the relationships. I got married to a beautiful, godly woman that is absolutely amazing. She blows my mind. Blows my mind. She's just an amazing person. I have so many friends that would drop anything to come talk to me if I needed them to, because I've done that. I've had to have that happen. I've seen God in the middle of losing my mom since I've been sober and been out. You know, I lost my mom to cancer and some other things, and walked through it with grace and dignity and honor. You know what I mean? Those are the types of things that bring substance to my life. You know, when I can look Jeff in the face and say, look, I love who you are today, man. That's a beautiful thing, because I've never, everything outside of me was always what dictated how I felt about me, you know? And the reality of it was, the answer was always right in here. If I could figure out what my true self was, you know what I mean, and base myself off that and just grow off that, then I can become anything that I want. You know, I can become the person that I want. I remember sitting in a cell and God was showing me like this idea of what kind of man that I wanted to be, right? And it was kind of a compartmentalization type of thing, right? But I wanted to have, I wanted to have integrity, responsibility. I wanted to be loving and have all the opposite things that I was when I was on the street. I wanted to do the opposite of that. So it made it pretty easy, you know what I mean? And but I wanted to be able to, I wanted people to see me when, and this isn't out of ego, this is out of love, right? I wanted people to know they're loved by me because of the spirituality that I have. When they see me, they know they're loved, you know, and that's something that never really, so my true self ended up coming from that, because that's who I was created to be, was loved and to love, right? And so coming from that point, growing from that idea, that's what I attained for, you know what I mean? And I'm not perfect at it. And for this addict though, you know what I mean? I was violent. I got all kinds of horrible stories. I could go into all that stuff, but you know, I was a violent person. I've been abused when I was growing up. My dad was violent. My uncles were all violent. But I learned that that was all fake as hell. You know what I mean? That whole lifestyle was just fake. It was it was like ego trying to take from ego. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. It's a never ending thing. It's a vicious cycle. And so being able to get out and like just learn what it's like to be able to build things and have good credit, a job. I mean, I've never held a job unless it was a tweaker job. You know what I mean? Till I got out this time, and it's been amazing. Like I'm the best worker that I can be for my company. I try to be the best at everything that I can be. Uh, and it's just amazing to try to do that stuff, you know, and to be able to come from where I came from and have a heart that I know is good, that is true, that is genuine, that is that has honor and respect, you know, to the best of my ability. But that's what I truly want to attain. You know what I mean? It's all that stuff. But I know who I am, and I'm on step 4 right now, working through some of that stuff. You know what I mean? And like uh, really grasping on the steps of the program, because I've never worked the steps, and I know that that's going to add to that. You know, like God is my higher power is giving me an idea that the more that I attain from learning things, right, or learning about myself, now that I'm in a spiritual state, that I can use that stuff to help other people to the best of my ability. You know what I mean? So I've never worked the steps. I've only gotten to 5 and never read it. You know, I did step 4s twice and never read them. You know what I mean? And so this is going to be a new threshold for Jeff. You know what I mean? To like open up to somebody and like, and I'm excited to do it. Really, you know, being being able to know that I know that my higher power has some tools that he's going to give me. And it's been confirming a lot of the things that I've been walking in my life already, you know, and it's beautiful because I'm in the right path. I'm on the right path, going the right direction. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I just know I can do anything that I want. Me and my wife are going to go out over the road for a few years so that we can build us a house, come back, have some security doing that, and focus on service. That's my goal in life, is to focus on service. I have these opportunities to I'll open up things. But I think it's more real and more, it'd be more realistic to have a foundation before I do that. You know what I mean? And all that stuff's going to be there, and God's always going to have that open for me. So that's where I'm headed at right now. So that I'm going through school, applying myself to get my Class A and go do some OTR, over the road stuff, you know, for a few years, and dig into some YouTube stuff and do some channels and open up to people, you know, about who me and her are and what we're doing and where God and where recovery's taking us in our life, you know. And but I don't know, like I said, I have family still that are in active addiction. You know, my daughter's in active addiction. You know, and I can only lead by example. I can only be the best motherfucker that I can be. You know what I mean? So that she can see me, who I am as a person, and learn from that. You know, and because she knows who I was. You know what I mean? She knows who I was. So to be able to know that there's a path for her, that I'm building a path for her and other people that are using, it gives me that purpose, you know what I mean? That substance in life, that good feeling. We talked about purpose the other night, and you know, having that purpose of being able to have my hand out and to any alcoholic addict, anybody really, you know what I mean? To have my hand out for anybody that's struggling, whether they're 30 years clean or 10 minutes clean, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, I'm there, you know. I have something that I can give to somebody, even if it's just a hug, whatever it is, you know. And so I don't know. So the biggest thing the biggest thing for me has been my higher power and people, because I see God working through all the people in my life. And so I keep every day is new for me, and I keep it open to Him and to other people's, you know, and being teachable from other people, and focusing on how I can be better a little bit just in the moment. You know what I mean? Sitting in the moment, I can meditate, whatever the hell it is. You know what I mean? I can stop and be still, Jeff. You know what I mean? And meditate on what I need to do, and really be able to do that stuff. That's like, I was so erratic and emotional and paranoid and angry and fearful and regretful and all these things. That's who I was. That's what my will was for so long. And being able to stop in the middle of the day and be okay. It doesn't always work perfect for me, but I have been able to attain that stuff. And my whole life is recovery. You know what I mean? I ain't ashamed to tell nobody that I've been to prison. I ain't ashamed to tell nobody nothing about my life. If they don't like it, if it keeps you from getting a job, whatever, God's got something planned for me.
Two
And
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
And I don't know, just being able to talk to people about who I am, and understand who they are, and let's let them talk to me about who they are, and just that connection, you know what I mean, is real. And yeah, taking this stuff a day at a time, man. If you're new or nearly new, you know, there are people here that love you. They've been to the same places you've been, whether it's smoking a little weed here and there, and then you saw it changing your life, to the extremes. You know what I mean? We've got so many different people here, and we're all just as valid. You know, we're all 4 feet tall. We're all just as valid, and we're all here for the same reason. And that's to learn to love each other better, and get better, and have better lives, and be a part of instead of apart from. You know, my hope for any newcomer is that you'll just reach out to somebody, man, and hopefully, you know, they'll love you through everything that's going on. That's all I got.